Made a noise.
Oh, it says recording.
Good.
Cool.
When is it supposed to start? 1 minute. I think I sent it.
I'm gonna have to borrow paper and a pen, I think. Because my spreadsheet is.
You just want like one color of a pen?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Look at that teamwork.
Thank you.
Look.
This is yours, but it's still excellent.
Alright, thanks.
Good luck.
That's fine. Is everyone good? Yeah, I'll pull it up. Alright. I got her. Oh, you pulled that out? Yeah, that's not.
Give him the good luck rub.
Yeah, I'm good. Sweet. Plan the United States federal government not to ban private ownership of handguns in the United States. I reserve the right to clarify the first is the advantage over availability of handguns. Prompts police militarization legislation is key use reverse calls. Let's code in 14 Americans have been transmitted by police doing and camouflaging cast pointing sniper rounds. I don't demonstrate why. How police are become so enamored of gun a nation of wow for wow. It's impossible to talk about converse about guns of the gay race. Cities and criminals can get the police to right environment because only when you police are believe they should be technology based and one here's the tornado weapon towards the black assault rifle handguns. Making up and increasing shut the guns being heavily marked by gun makers policies but people in the availability of arms 15 has referred by the Senate. Since the police begin police is watching they want to use to combat this weapons the police culture the office of the safety of the whole priority police departments will exercise an abundance of caution protecting their officers. British police officers filed the weapons just 3 years 2013 no fatality potential for Northern City counter development armed confrontations all too real rates of violent crime historically low police killers are not declining. America is the most heavily armed country in the developed world. Toxic gun no permissive gun laws and crucial factor that outweigh militarization American police now Middle East militarization makes America a battlefield. Programs target racial minorities erode civil liberties and maintain a culture of normalized violence that justifies reactionary attacks as Creed 14. Intensive militarization America's police and serious menace to the police increasingly draw from the pattern themselves rather than military blaming that the Turkish weapons are occurring community parties are directed by products sold against deliver militarized American policing all justify the name of homeland security overwhelmingly disorderly direct the minorities and poor communities destroy the poor way of watching fighting the dark Americans are national because the scene police are rejecting cables for Robocop tactics become normalized. There's no vital trend in American side more of the militarization of police force use of paramilitary weapons tactics primary impacting people of color militaristic militarization great mentality police force and subject to targeting communities rampant brutality uncounted abuse escalates risk of threats individual liberties and unfairly put impacts feel like our police military also give past great dangers to basic political liberties including free speech present assembly troops of federal state and local law enforcement agents march around wire machines gun tear gas canisters shouting military attendant marching in military formation Humvees and law enforcement officers rifles opposed various building and balconies protesters observers gas and injured. Now gun possession is an excuse for illegitimate shootings as stopped in 15 year there were fewer guns on the street there were fewer shootings included by police race police officers can't claim that they thought they were carrying a gun the fact that so many people have guns is the main excuse police officers gave to some of the degree of some reason fewer finding gun control police violence as missing the force because of the trees of gun violence takes enormous for black people because twice likely to gun fires by some kids grow up in pure stable substances 70% of blacks work gun gun loss compared to less likely white solvency rate. Most illegal guns are first legal, but then stolen gangs through decibels and 16 illegal gun owners have made themselves for arming gangs, including leaving guns on blacklists get stolen about 240,000 each year. Now those whom you can just sell to well-known business decibels and 16 criminals buy perfectly legal guns from responsible gunners used to property they'll buy from federal jails who know nothing chance the ATF inspecting them is zero because the budget now no shift to long guns that takes in 93 or every reason to doubt the long guns we use to replace handguns. The long guns are obviously more difficult to conceal. Bank robber carrying a long gun will be immediately detected by guards. 71% of handguns have been by tracing and a barrel length is 3 inches or less. 61% of how the caliber went through 2 or less both factors relate to the size concealed in the running factor concealed against shotguns be much harder than bulkier. The difficulty of concealment while weighing greater lengths than the long gun shoot the band handle can lead to the result of decreased firearms related homicide of gun control beats a paradigm that policies of people and police as people instead of guns that justifies the discriminatory paradigm of racism for just like stop and frisk laws that's moving 15 arguments about the disparate impact gun control policy and have targets a certain inconsiderate gun control measure that would leave small town white families with legally carded guns and the other guns with the population ban guns are discrimination not about dividing side and good and the bad. It was what was needed to stop all gun violence is a vocal gun ban continued gunning getting bogged down and discussing assess what's feasible, keeps what happened from every possibility. No guns stance would be necessary to be identifiable within the respective place. Embrace unapologetically. Now, self-defense doctrines are nonsensical because they devolve into a race for weapons with higher damage coefficient. That's boiling and 12 with firearms. The weapon damage coefficient makes it dumb weapons exist and continue. When weapons the intended weapon the possessed with higher damage coefficient, the rate national, the bad guys will have more powerful weapons. So I understand that the logical line of destruction agree. Everyone must agree there must be weapons to conceal someone who contain more odds or not to be determined what is easy, but what is right. Now, framing the question of competing moral theories is useless unless the non-white subject is counted as a full person by the moral operator, reframing the debate around those disproportionately experiencing violence outweighs the choice of a normative method that spills the 97 epistemology of ageism, conservation, and another relative race epistemology that victims and relatives rally themselves to understanding cooperation bottom up is more accurate than top down. This juncture between the right reality and already experience generates an alternative moral reality. And always viewing from outside rather than inside are able to see quite clearly, focus on the lesson of the deep communal war candidates who try to embrace the deontology and the non-racial content that is form frame their function. The details of moral theories become less important than the metaphor that what's here embedded the crucial question whether non-whites are counted as full person by the moral operator. Now, favoring risk of calculus results in serial policy failure and escalation. That's dire intent. So imagining the worst outcome in that worst trying to imagination speculating for reason. The first part fosters powerless. The worst case the may bad decision making only have the cost benefit of question focused on the extreme but improper risk as a poor job assessing the outcomes based on all the use of more than the opposite. Don't invade Iraq, so don't use nuclear weapons. If we do destabilize the Middle East where the widespread death of fears we have to justify more worst case thinking about ignorance leads to hate seeking attack caused by dangerous escalation leads to bad decision bad security angels with future powerlessness and exacerbates the rare and gives much more credence that is against bias. People like to seem to be arguments without understanding whole use. There's no point in liberating them. Now, law can be used continuously to produce social change or externalization of the state from society. Naturalized to stabilize in the first place because you can't escape it. It's Donald Bush v. Gore. That's Sylvian 5. To know law, we need to know how we come to the laws. In fact, we explain the distinction between ideal in the books and the law, the action, the quality, and quality answers. We need to know not only who the law is used, but also when and by whom it is not used. Abandoned by force law, paradigm, reason, law, study, moving on, lawyers, on his legal laws, and behavior, research, and intent, unofficial, non-personal actions as they imagine or fail to imagine legal laws on a million instruments, a schema that can help communicate social relations and college to law outside of their two layers to see features. They are not scholars, not posters, to critique, address the indeterminates of regard to goals and overdetermined closest impact to the main anytime because they see powers many sided illustrate to the world. Institutions and practice may be social conducted, but that way the social conducted world laid the defendant to the jail to the tenant who's evicted, the immigrant expelled, the women denied access to the abortion, citizen concerned about warming or super injured by faculty part of the faulty part of the less reliable hegemonies produce everyday transaction structures become brutalized as transaction relativity to the laws durable and power because of legality is invisible constraint the local hegemony rise from legal authority and personality and foods with the mutual organization every dollar for example in traffic and park sales receipts much more than Bush v. Gore and culture trials stand upon the act of rule of law whereas the rootness of the forms are rendered invisible the probability of the tip of the giant axe of matter that's shaped by the interpreted through law these legal facts are outside the law more rooted in the law that way to end custom legal doctrine we pay our bills for property on the right side of the road we register our motor vehicles to stop our lights that the result of this is not property and traffic goes in really efficient natural inevitable facts through life market facts through life active engagement with policy reform is critical actual policy reform that's time 13 active to engage in policy reforms and individual lawyers can be influenced policy by attending policy opposite president engage in reform the lawyer must attain a working also now to get into train and then take action policy result of setting the agenda B says I don't see making alternative change occurs as a result of action they continually engage in preparation project in a given issue. Marked it to address a given issue. The actual line in case you need to control of it is to address a given social justice issue.
So stop at the word given?
Issue.
Issue, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your standard?
What are our standards for what? Like,
what's your standard for the debate? Is it like you
yeah.
have a standard?
Yeah, so we'd say the Mills evidence is the contextualization. As if it says that we need to orient things like political and normative questions around the dispossession of people of color
Wait, so
and
what is that?
minorities.
So then, what are you attempting to do? Are you trying to minimize some sort of oppression, or?
Yeah, we'd say that
Okay,
there's violence. There's a violence.
Is it means-based or end-based? Are you trying to reduce a quantifiable amount of oppression, or do you just say that like the Speech Act of the AC and like?
No, we'd say definitely that the affirmative will defend a reduction in a policy, or a policy that has led to problems. So yeah.
Okay, so if the net can prove that you create more oppression, or that we solve for more instances of oppression, does that mean you negate?
Well, if you solve for more, no, because that would be permutable. But if you say that the act creates more oppression, then yes, you'd win the debate.
Okay. So let's go to this Silby card. You say, what does it mean for a law to be used contingently?
Yeah, the Silby evidence says that the law is not a homogeneous structure that is either good or bad, but a mixture.
Why is it not good or bad?
What?
Why is the law not good or bad?
It said it's not one homogeneous actor, that there's a ton of different things like actors, agents,
I get
judges,
there's many agents within the law, but why does that mean that the law is not good or bad?
Because there's specific microprocesses that exist within it that can change.
Microprocesses. So you make claims about how there's police violence. Why is that not an instance of the law being bad?
Yeah, that is an instance, right? But there's a question. It's a question of this, right? Obviously,
so
things like
an example of the law being like super good.
Yeah, anti-rape legislation.
Okay. So how do we use the government in the world of the affirmative?
What?
How do we use the law in the world of the affirmative?
Like for the plan?
Like as per the Silby card, if it's contingent.
The Silby card just says that we can operationalize specific aspects of government in order to achieve social
what is
justice.
operationalize specific? Like explain that.
The plan text.
Okay, operationalize specific instances of the government to achieve social justice.
Yeah.
How do you do that without falling into the pitfalls of things like racism present in like the
Racism present. Okay.
So,
Obviously,
like, how do you use the police force without falling?
we're
into
not
the
using the
back there?
police force.
Okay, so then what is your method for enforcement of the gun ban?
Yeah, we'd say that it operates similarly to, well, obviously the precedent is set for ban occurs under the National Firearms something legislation, which says that you cannot purchase, sell, or own weapons, but we will not defend like going into people's houses or like searching for them on their
Okay,
person.
so then how does the app solve? So do you try and solve for the mindset of militarization, or just take guns off the street?
I don't know what the mindset of militarization is. We
So
just say
what is the app attempting to solve for?
Yeah, the Cohen evidence says that police officers are perceiving an increase in guns and the availability of handguns as a reason they need to justify further
Wait,
SWAT
are police officers harassing minorities because they feel like there are too many guns, or because they don't like minorities?
No, it's a question of the fact that they will get advanced technologies, things like SWAT, higher caliber weapons, armed vehicles, because they perceive handguns to be more available. The affirmative removes that availability.
So it's only the perception of availability that causes police to be racist.
It's about militarization.
So, wait, is there a mindset of militarization in the world of the affirmative?
What?
Do police have a mindset?
Well, the Cohen evidence it says that when you remove the availability of handguns, that the police would necessarily demilitarize because that technology is no longer necessary.
Okay. There you go. 233.
How many?
It's going to be 2 off case.
Can I get maybe one more?
Sure.
2 off.
Oh, were you included on the email chain initially?
Maybe, but I mean.
Okay, I just want to make sure whether or not I have to hit reply all or something, because it's not giving me an option. Everybody good?
Just give me like 2 seconds. Oh, I'm good.
The What is the missing diagnosis of the problem? Gun control represents a narrow legalistic solution to gun violence, which is a reality. There's a broader cultural problem. SPC in 2014. Gun culture has been reinforced behind neoliberalism. Neoliberalism dominates social reality, emphasizes individuals not only concerned, supports of neoliberalism to angle universities assisting autonomous individuals freely, pursuing their own self-interest, discerning questions about social dimensions, as usually seek to minimize gun violence. Need to explain the 30 million guns or 300 million guns that currently exist in the Western atmosphere, whether or not the certain gun surpass or more or less push rebuilding upon the movement and challenge the ideological difference. Roman gun violence efforts strong to the neoliberal viewpoint is approach to the policy foundation of the neoliberal Western society and legal institutions are inherently violent. Least gun violence returns to SFC in 2014. Gun violence is not anonymous, but a normative feature of American life, which too often missing from the diagnosis of the physical understanding of the institution force their creating conflict with too many people already killed by encouraging the activities of extreme individuals in the neoliberalist promoting sociopathic society hyper consumer culture and also concentrating on struggle work of a person's attribution of the data thinks they want because of the cut through materialism of life. Because the gun violence is whatever be violent after in society that makes people feel insignificant and neoliberalism creates extinction and massive social inequities. The absence of legalistic solutions, the exact kind of politics neoliberalism wants to engage in and produce symbolic victories allow the root cause to one question for about 15. Ecological and economic crisis, mentalism, the transform politics, Chauncey fundamentalism of capital incentives to order movement where the mix of fantastic capitalism has led to an explosive social equity and inequalities, global economic landscape is with recent concentration of wealth and immersion. The richest 1% will go into range of global wealth, the rest of us commodity capitalism increase in global apartheid cancer with the hunger for endless movement. This is the system CNA as well as the track collision force and initially range solutions have to be legislated for promising temporary management. The critical capacity to build a transfer toward this politics capable of steering away the system for its start capitalism and politics must be the challenging system fundamental areas about starting points. The advocates of the gun control which fits the card, but the card before the horse alternative is crucial. Neoliberal critique which is a necessary prerequisite SPC in 2014. The efforts now refocus on tweaking gun laws, which is the popular movement that will change a challenge program lobby lens of the neoliberal movement for systematic social and economic change to social values. The extreme individuals must be encouraged to to the anti-political safe society. This would begin at home schools, begin the critique of media, those and ideologies, glorify war. The media is a shift towards social logic. The units from the neoliberal subjectivity matter, individuals matter without challenging these social structures and underlying value systems that promote gun violence in the first place. The influence minimize and problem not be effective in the role of church to be critical analysis in the underlying subject the after knowledge and question ability to ask scholarship is good not the passionate plan. First advocacy the first half advocacy takes the wrong approach. Our roles and intellectuals do not offer the prescriptive solution to analyze the explicit hegemonic powers and bring it to light. Jones 99, the central task of the intellectuals is undermining the prevailing discourse of through educational activity, changes the product to agency. These movement activities effectively dominant discourse. More important in the long run. Institutions seen as natural are now unacceptable. Social change requires intellectuals to undermine the natural. This creates a political space within the alternative conceptions of politics that can be developed. And educational activity should support the social movement that promote emancipatory change, prevailing order, legitimated alternative views. Second, the knowledge claims of the AC are just jumping off for a debater who requires a more reasonable than for a student turns into an F paper. No, teachers an obligation to write an entirely new paper to show it was bad, putting a major academic deficiencies, but justify the failing paper. The valid asked you to do the better debating, so if the analysis is wrong, they haven't. Third, the case of prior question understanding both pieces of prerequisites with respect to the gun control policy SPC Finley for SPC in 2014. Gun control debate revolves around whether or not to be more guns produced more or less time to focus on quantitative analysis regards to both sides of the debater, predicting and fundamentally different worldviews to give going into our perspectives and relations to making these visions to got the debate ignores the crucial relevance to culture and shaping people's attitudes. Hold on, I think I'm reading something that I don't back with the wrong DA up there. I'll because I can read it. Okay, next is the court clog DA. Courts are getting more of it right now, just almost at the edge, and Congress would authorize more judges to one big push collapse the judiciary. Gershman, November 12. The workload complaint from the judiciary appears to be more urgent. The chief judge of the U.S. District Court says he fears his colleagues are reaching a breaking point. Any more judges that he's looking are starting to say, I don't want to do this anymore. They're losing the bench possibly because it's too much. We're doing everything we possibly can. We're at a crisis point. The combination of factors creating the backlog of federal trial courts across the nation efforts to hire more judges have been met with political resistance. The AF process court clause. There will be tons of challenges to this handgun ban. 88. Revisiting the Second Amendment and striking handgun legislation, whatever it affects you. Entire state and local regulations separating the right to cast out authority of state and local governments or regulate firearms, such as ruling would invite challenges to hundreds of state and local overseeing studies, funding courts, and political policy judgment, and individual regulations. And the gun industry blocks off all efforts to regulate guns. As well, 15. Nothing's likely to change active gun balance is most important. They need to do passing more competence reforms that plan around the gun lobby preempted the hacks, standards, so activists use the budgeting federal and state laws find a way to block every single approach by using the undermined gun industries. Ever since the gun lobby takes place, it's harder for citizens to mobilize. And federal court collapses, the federal judiciary over and sockets substantially can't keep place locally. The hallmark federal judiciary has been the awful opinion of highly competent judgment down with the time resolving most nuanced issues, swollen dockets creating assembly line conditions that defend the high quality federal adjudication case pressures are treating the increment available for each case. They cannot read their briefs carefully and are trying to rely on new logic to the size ingredients and institutional chains of UC. Except really these countermeasures the case will growth in the long run will create the system to collapse. And separation of powers also not help decisions go to war. Causes extinction out in a state shared power security abuse power. The structure and trust policies will not reflect the preferences of the president. U.S. powers need for accountability, destruction of nuclear war, and extermination of human rights demonstrating the need for representation. The decision to initiate nuclear war policy formation became used the executive branch unaccountable. Secretary became unaccountable. Okay, on to the case. Hello? It's still in the dock. To prevent a national gun that will cause a massive increase in militarization of the police and government, as well as the armed rebellion that will create massive violence. Benefit 15. If federal law requires the sweeping national police law involves the fastest of lawmaking, someone will take this outside the American Civil Law, straight into military control, will require government force massive scale those who did the civil systems are cleaning their guns so happy. Imagine people suddenly see some better cleaning to some nice thing they want to do and sell over for the government here, take your guns, spending left. Force opposition, they increase military yet only. Military police can enforce Australian good rules in the US and modeling Australian means civil war and rebellion may be consequence. Australian is a valid for America only for willing for that left these fields. He's saying to say we don't take guns away from people. That's literally the only way in which the affirmative can solve. And even if that is not the exact solvency mechanism of the plan that he specs, it's also the way in which the police will grow and try and take guns away from people. This outweighs a mechanism of militarism that makes a one-sided knowledge and one government is the power to enforce the will and minorities martial arts groups would be increase the scale of the government militarization more than currently exists of governance more. Excuse you expend the power to turn focus on control trade-offs and lower deflect social questions about balance embedded in American culture. It reifies the problems. Row 13. The NRA's constructed autonomic American culture but only one factor the culture and institutionalizing the issue of conflict or the issue of gun controls the focus of national certain political support question need to be raised. The thought stakes for every aspect of the North American culture, the militarization for every yellow liberals of the agriculture, workplace public serious society, grain security, foundation for rebellion.
Next.
Handgun ban reduce the cost of mass policing and incarceration of marginalized groups, Benefit 15, control, concerning more laws, creating new crimes, therefore more criminals, pretext for militarized police, military prejudice, multiply, police criminals, around black men, romantic police, operating with barely restrained force, cut the card there, go to the, starting off with the underview of the affirmative, he, going to send the Sylvie card, the next speech tries to work with a contingent level of the government. I'm saying is the starting point of the affirmative, they say bad, regardless of how he uses the government, there's still aspects of the government in the focus on militarization that is bad, the affirmative discourse, and the ways in which the policy starts there are bad, not simply the use of the government, it's not a question of state bad, but the method by which he uses the state, which is incredibly terrible, and even if you have to engage in the state, I'm saying his engagement is simply a negative thing. You also at the solvency level, he says it's just a question of how the police view the number of guns increasing the status quo. I'm saying his point is he will not be able to take away all the guns, but his point when he does, it's not a question of how the militarized police always has a negative perception of minorities in the country that you can't solve for by simply taking away guns.
How does the alternative solve?
Okay. So the alternative is a criticism of the root cause of why we have militarism.
That's not my
in the first
question.
place.
How does it solve?
So it solves by reshaping the ways in which we view gun violence.
Can you lay out the
and
internal links between that reshaping and resolving any of the impacts?
Sure. So we now have an internalized critique of militarism in the U.S. It means our policies are shaped to form a different attack on militarism instead of just trying to
What
mask
is
the
that
problem.
different attack on militarism?
I can't give you a specific blueprint. of
So
exactly
there's
how
not a
this would work.
blueprint for the
There hasn't been a
alternative. There's not
criticism
an
yet.
internal link for the alternative.
We have to give a criticism of the system before we can give a
Why is that
perfect
true?
blueprint of it.
Why is the affirmative
Okay,
not?
if you put-
Why is
so
the
this is the entire
your question?
This is exactly what
I gotta
I'm
ask
saying.
the question.
If
I
we
gotta.
put
Can
hard
I ask the
force-
question?
Okay, sure.
Why is what makes the affirmative not a criticism? It's asking for a change from the status quo.
It's asking for a change in the status quo via a single targeted policy.
So we can't have single policies in the world of the alternative?
I'm saying that we have to examine a criticism beforehand, and then maybe we can have some sort of change. But your preemptive targeted policy is not.
Why is the affirmative? The affirmative is filled with scholarship of people who analyze police militarization. I'm wondering why that is not an
Okay,
analysis.
so
that
there
would
are,
be
first of all, there are
sufficient.
multiple reasons why your analysis of it is wrong. For example, the first solvency card or the harms card to be in the affirmative is the only reason why police are militarized.
I'm
is
asking
because
about
they
the
view their
alternative.
use of guns.
We'll get to the link debate. I want to know what this
Okay.
alternative does to resolve any of your K impacts.
So the alternative is the only way in which we can examine militarism so that we come to a better solution.
But we don't know what that solution is.
I know you want me to give you a policy alternative or a blueprint. The entire point of reading the K is that you don't have a specific policy.
Okay, that's fine.
Having a specific policy is what puts the cart before
Yeah,
the horse. It's the reason why neoliberalism is able to co-opt your policy.
Why is
in the
root
first
cause
place.
indicate
You have to have some sort
solvency?
of criticism. that
Why
can't
does
simply
root
come
cause
up.
mean solvency?
I'm saying if we eliminate the root cause.
How do you eliminate the root cause?
We change people's view of militarism.
How do
and the way
you?
in which
What
militarism
people's
breaks down.
view do you change and how?
So, in the world of the affirmative, right, the contingent structure of America is that it's still.
How does the
militarized.
all
Like, we
change
look at-
people's views?
We offer a criticism of the place
Okay,
in which these
that's
views
fine.
come from. Instead of just saying ban guns.
Like
solves all the
Occupy was a
problem,
better
we
version
have
of
to
what you're doing, and it
understand
changed
why
no one's
banning guns
views.
would actually
That's
solve
fine.
the problem in the
That's
first
fine.
place.
The disad. You say that enforcement suffers because of the court. How does a court enforce a gun ban? What enforcement mechanism does the court use?
Wait, I'm saying that there's a court clog, that the massive.
Yeah, I
amount of
got
cases
that.
come into the
One of the
courts.
Turns case arguments is enforcement. When does the court enforce?
Wait, I'm confused.
Is
about
the only
the
impact of Press
enforcement.
powers? Is that it?
Wait, what are you talking about? Enforcement.
Well, I
is
don't
not
have it in
part-
front of me clearly, so I
Enforcement
can't.
is not part. I can give it to you.
Is the only impact presidential powers?
The impact is the
That's
separation
it?
of powers.
Okay, cool. And it's only what's the scenario? What power? Why are we using the powers? Like, what is the conflict?
The scenario is that in the world of the affirmative, the judiciary is not able to make effective decisions.
I'm gonna start prep.
This balances the separation of powers. I'll send over the case. Again, it's an updated version of the NC.
Okay.
Should have the DA here.
What's this fourth case argument? I'm sorry, I can't read my writing.
Was it the Gorovich argument?
Maybe.
The one that the law will be enforced?
Not that. No, after that.
Oh. Case. I had Meta, like two weighing arguments, Giroux 13,
Okay.
or Gorovich 15. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, like analytic arguments on the solely evidence.
Yeah. Okay, 114. Case K to said. Everyone ready? Sweet.
Wait, are you reading any new cards?
Yeah, I sent them.
No, okay. Actually, let me pull something. Okay.
Good. The code evidence says rapid police militarization occurs because handguns or more previous police departments perceive the availability of handguns as reasons why they need things like SWAT teams and long guns in armored vehicles. Only a person with the perception of the availability of handguns can solve. The next piece of evidence is that police militarization rapidly incriminates people of color, especially in a promote civil liberties that are necessary for freedom and protesting, which means we're a prerequisite to the alternative because only organization can occur when we have things like free speech, which are dominated by police militarization. This act will Occupy movement proves that the police use militarized force to silence and chill the discussion. Now, the line by now they send emails evidence that we need to incorporate the dispossessed, which means now we don't have a specific normative ethic that the role of the judge should be one that incorporates lens of people who've been dispossessed and minoritarian ethics into the calculus in order to make black lives and people of color matter more. Now, the line by line A, same militarization of police. The above the evidence says that this is a question of total ban versus minority ban. The total ban of the affirmative means that the police can no longer manipulate slight policy calculations in order to justify a total ban which cannot be manipulated because it's gun or not will also not defend barging into people's homes, but it's a question of perception, which is the only internal link I did above. It's also not unique because militarists are doing things like terror frisk and terror in the status quo. They don't have a reason why that increases. And the next argument is that we'll grow case that ways. Well, while enforcement might be a little bit racist, it's not nearly as bad as the militarization of police officers in order to silence black people. They say culture perception is key as the Cohen evidence. Thoreau also doesn't have a warrant and ultimately concludes that we need policy changes. That is the Cohen evidence. It also says that Owens will infinitely reduce the culture of militarization. The next argument is wrong. The anti still be unwarranted. Still be unwarranted arguments. The criticism will prove that we can use the state for good. Go to the criticism permutation. Do both. And permutation the alternative. These are both just the alternative. This is analysis. We spent tons of time talking about how this alternative is bullshit. It doesn't culminate in any change. There's not internal link, and the only reform it possibly culminates in, he cannot specify now. But if it's a floating pick and it justifies the permutation of Occupy, proves their movement is racist, gets co-opted in the permits key, Stranahan and 12 people inside the Occupy movement believe the Occupy Wall Street streets will give people color about beliefs. Everyone indeed on what do they do? They ask me when I watch Hannah said they treat us here complaints were echoed by ambassadors. I spoke to the people not wanting to recognize fear and present when people walk out Occupy Wall Street. Moves are clearly absolutely racist and people of color. Now communists spoke for the permutation. That's new voice and 76 differences are based on the condition life under capitalism. Everything is blocking works for finding what nature, society, organizations, and cells, no macroorganization calls on workers, especially capitalists. They will live with most of any action. Communists do not set up sectarian organizations, do not track the basis of master people who outside of the organized job, not spontaneous food. Now cap is not the root cause. After and 3, Marxists are backwards in the revolution because reading kind of propagator. He's also mass operation leading food, the future violence, the root cause of human problems, cover individual human greed, cluster, not the root problems. That's found along the plot of the true historical perspective. Nations engage wars not because the individual members of society are convinced that there's only ancient war, poverty, starvation, lack of rights, citizens, and the long for the rights of capitalists. Now root cause analysis is awful. It doesn't culminate in solvency. It can in an academic game of fuzzing who finds a historical fact, but that never culminates in internally to resolving violence, which is only the affirmative, which is a proactive step to remove a militaristic form. A normative violence in society is good. Now, the state is good. The Sylvia evidence says that there's contextualizations and multi-factors within the law, that it's not one homogeneous organization, but different rulings, different people, different class action lawsuits that will all determine how we use the law. They are specific mechanization of the law where the specific mechanization is good. Now, the non-unique marriage bans prove that there's already one. Now, their evidence is not about the Supreme Court, but lower courts, which means enforcement doesn't matter. Now, the courts don't enforce, they rule in the first place. Now, EPA ruling runs press powers. That's Liptak and Davenport and 2-9. The major Senate reform office climate change to the Supreme Court blocking the magistrate effort to block will into saying nation walking through the program face actual rejection rate. Spark market sales reception. Now, no impact to press powers. This healing 11 legal checks and last in the American country presidency. The rise of democracy means that the president has taken equitable to the public events like 9/11 receive loss of control, so the incident budget will be run by U.S. monitors will allow terrorist attacks. The only sector we don't about the monitors. They spend little time exploring whether power to the emergency, etc. Justifies like trade hard wars, and there never would have been no present for U.S. troops on Saudi soil. Whether benefits and considerable cost of 100,000 U.S. and now the start and says magnitude fails because we always think that we overestimate policy concerns. So where? Bye.
We're just going to be AF, or quickly on the DA, AF, okay? Maybe cards.
Wait, say again?
Quickly on the DA, AF, okay? Top down on the AF. Pretty good?
DA case. Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
I'll concede that the EPA comes to DA. There's no any more impacts on this flow. But go to the affirmative case. First, you listener up on Cohen. This is a very good incident link. Case of the Borovich evidence literally disproves his evidence. The Borovich says that the police right now hate the black body and are trying to go against it. The stop and frisk is an example of the policy in which the police will constantly target minorities. He said the only reason militarization occurs is because they perceive an increase in the amount of guns. This is empirically disproven by the fact that the police literally have an ingrained response against the minority body. It means the reason why there's militarism is because there are ingrained racism in Western societal practices. Obviously, not something the affirmative can solve for. He has conceded that the only thing he solves for is the perception of the increase in weaponry. It means he can never solve the root cause of this sort of militarism that the K is identifying. It means he definitely links peace of one his own cards like him and do this. The Green Wall 14 card talks about the American militarization and the targeting of minorities. This targeting of minorities wouldn't have happened if there wasn't some sort of not just because there was an increase in guns, because there's some sort of deep underlying hatred of minorities in the U.S. This is obviously true. Next he goes to the role. You accept the mail's card about the role of the judge. You extend my role. Jeffrey subsumes his that the only way we can have an actual discussion that takes into viewpoints, all viewpoints, not and is able to help minorities to talk about a criticism of the system that oppresses them in the first place. That the system military is not the issue of evidence. He says police can no longer be abusive and there won't be harms because we don't go into people's homes. It's the exact opposite of what the meta card I'm saying is. Extend meta 15 that the reason why police will invade people's homes is because they take their job too seriously. They expand the amount of governmental control, and because laws are banned, they will now find excuses to go into people's homes. That there is massive militarization occurring because the police will always find any way to infiltrate the home citizens and to brutalize minority bodies. And it's not a question of exactly what the affirmative defense or what the plan does, but what the results of enforcing new laws will be. He says it's not unique because they're starting police harm now. This is a ridiculous argument. Just because there's harms now, the status quo policeman doesn't mean that we shouldn't allow them more excuses to invade people's homes and to frisk them on the street, destroy their civil liberties. He says militarism is the worst impact in racism. This is totally non-quantifiable. I'm saying we should not have an affirmative that allows an increase in either of the civil evidence. He is trying to extend this. It's not a question of the state necessarily being totally irredeemable. It's a question of the starting point of the UNC and the identification of the reason why the militarism is happening. I'm saying he misdiagnoses the problem of militarism. It's not simply a question of his use of the state. It's not a matter of whether or not there can be a contingent use of the state, but the reason he simply gets the problem wrong, so we don't let him extend this as offense, or a reason why he should perm. Go to the K. Except the link to the K, that's yes, but he's so infinitely 14 card. There's not nearly enough analysis done on the debate. The one he misdiagnoses the problem of gun control area is comes from a narrow legalistic solution they provide, just putting the cart before the horse. As far as he refused to have a specific criticism of the status quo before he creates a law. This means that the law is always doomed to failure or doomed to brutalize minority bodies, empirically proven by the Borovich evidence. So whenever a law is passed without a specific criticism of the status quo of the U.S., it ends up harming minority bodies. He's going to get up and say, oh, the AF is a criticism because we say militarization is bad, but you can cross-apply the arguments made to the Cohen card here that his reason for why militarism is happening is simply just wrong. It's not a perceived increase in gun use. It is obviously the underlying hatred implicit in Western society of militarism. Means he is getting the starting point wrong. He definitely links he's pointing to the Exposito and Finley two card. The foundations of neoliberal Western society are inherently valid, and the legalistic solution is never going to be enough to solve it. Any sort of legalistic solution is just a palliative that masks the overall harm done in society. He says, oh well, the solution will work, or oh, it will fix it. This is literally the argument argument that links him harder into decay that he thinks the government, which historically has brutalized minority bodies and tried to extend neoliberalism across the globe, will simply reform itself because we have one sort of material increase, and this also implies that he is winning the argument that material change dwarfs some sort of total end of capitalism, and is the root cause of these harms in the first place. Extend the Farboard 15 card. This is conceded impact. Neoliberalism can literally cause extinction and massive social inequities outweigh on the scope of anything in the atlas. Outweighs militarism wholly because it causes the extinction of our entire population. Outweighs the magnitude, obviously, as well as scope, because it affects more people than are able to buy guns or come in contact with the police on a daily basis. If I win a 1% chance of decay is bad, it means to vote negative off the perm debate. His first reading card, so extend the alternative, that is the Esposito and Finley 3 card. The next is a specific challenge of the capitalist system and interrogation of the way in which capitalism breaks down American society. Specifically here is that the only way we can understand how to create policies that destroy capital, the only way we can understand how to destroy capital in the first place is to examine the way it affects our society individually on an individual basis, the way it affects people. He said the Occupy movement is racist, but I'm not the Occupy movement. This is a different criticism by Esposito and Finley 14. They'll let him cross-apply other general fights against capitalism. Basic point is that the communists like this perm. Basic point is the New Voice card literally says nothing about this. It just there has to be some sort of movement against capitalism by communists. Basic point is the perm is I'm not simply a generic communist. The perm this perm doesn't get him out of the methods of debate. The perm seems to cost-benefit analysis complain, but this means about the opportunity to talk about cap, and they didn't get the point where they proved, and they also misdiagnosed the problem. So it means they're a moving target if they simply say, oh well, I get rid of all cap. Also, every link is a disactivating the permutation. If I'm winning a 1% versus the link, it's a reason why you should reject him on face. And the ultimate sequencing question, a cultural peak in the could ultimately result in a similar gun control policy in the affirmative. But this is not a floating pig, by the way. I'm just saying that is the prerequisite to ever establishing a good affirmative policy in the first place. That is the Esposito and Finley 5 card. He's conceding out of the underview of decay that literally the alt is the only way to possibly establish a good affirmative policy in the first place. Because it is a prerequisite. If I am winning the alt, it means we can do the affirmative, but it's the only way to accomplish the affirmative anyway. Other reasons why the perm cancel all the links prove that the app is a strong instance of neoliberalism you should reject. You should reject it. There's no reason why any of his arguments make any sense of the cap root cause argument. It's not a question of capitalism being the root cause, but the linear disadvantage of allowing capitalism in our society. Ergo decreases the likelihood of extinction. The cap enables, and also his abrogating 3 card only says that capitalism is not the root cause, that greed is. But I'm saying the capitalist structure allows this greed to be pervasive. The key is allowing the worst parts of humanity to come out. He says it's an academic game. I'm saying that the only way in which the alternative can solve anything is a try or die risk. There is no solution in the affirmative for like the risk of extinction that happens for capitalism.
Case K. Everyone ready? Sweet. The case debate the code evidence says the perception of guns-based police are more likely to militarize SWAT units, bigger ammunition, bigger armored vehicles mean that they may perceive the guns as a stripping and arm race on the Greenwald. Evidence that this creates a massive militarization, eroding of civil liberties and violence upon the people of color in the mills. Evidence says we need to incorporate these people of color, which is the control of the judges to evaluate these disparate impacts on people of color prior to a normative ethic. Now, while there might be a slight increase in the manipulation of policing, these far is not outweighed by the militarization, which we have specific internal links to, which he doesn't have offense to. Now, he says that this is defense argument. This is defense are non-unique, empirically proven that the bigger guns come from there being an armed race driven up only by removing the arms. We saw that the root cause analysis is nonsense because it doesn't presume solvency. Now, we make it better than both the evidence is structurally conceded. It says that a total ban was something because there's no precedent for police to manipulate the standard on which they investigate people. Things like Terry stops are based on a reasonable suspicion standard. Only a total ban is necessary. All these arguments on case outweighs because a massive number of people saw that. Britain also proves it. When you do a total ban, there's less police manipulation. 0 people were killed in 2013 and only 3 guns were fired. And they say target minorities. Only the act can do anything about the targeted minorities, and there's no internal link between the alternative and solving any of their impacts or change. This is a status quo. There's only a risk we reduce by the times of violence. So they say our criticism can lead to action because it incorporates specific policy making mechanisms, which he even concedes is a good thing. He says we expand the system. Well, the alternative cannot solve jack shit, which means it doesn't matter. They say the last argument that we don't know. None of these questions about starting point. Obviously, our half could have had a starting point that was alternative to the one. See, we have a massive criticism of militarism and a massive criticism of how bodies are marked as dangerous in the status quo, but only our affirmative takes a chance to alleviate these structural problems with the policy in the first place. Now, the criticism, try or die for the alternative. They consider the Greenwald lead case for an analysis which says that civil liberties erode the ability to protest for things like capitalism, which means that only by reducing police militarization can we remove the chilling effect, which is hurting anti-capitalist movement and the link debate. This is not a link. You don't know what a root cause argument is. The root cause argument is silly. It doesn't presume solvency. It doesn't presume the act not knowing how the gun control started is not a reason why we can't proactively create change. Now, Britain proves that there's no fatality change. Our specific analysis is good. Now I'm going to go for the permutations because they're the best. I'll do my one. That's fine. The next argument says that the fraud argument. He says this in cross-ex that the foundations are bad. He says in cross-ex that policies can be good, which means that our affirmative policy can be combined with his shoddy analysis to create better policies that are oriented around alleviating change. Otherwise, you're voting for the status quo, which is neoliberal and militarized, which means it's try or die for the affirmative frame makes for that offense. Now they say total end. You don't have a total end to capitalism. I mean, we spent all 3 minutes of cross-ex of the NC talking about this alternative, but when we got to his analysis, we changed people's minds. Trust us, that's not how debate works. He says extinction. You can't solve the first. Steyer says that when you evaluate magnitude of these types of highfalutin risks, you never we create bad policy decisions. There's also no internally to solve it. The permutation will resolve this. I'm going for permutation do both. He says that policies will always fail. This is a double turn with his argument when he says that policies can be used for good, which means that our specific policies can be used. I have 16 seconds. Oh. Policies can be used for good. Now he says that we'll get co-opted. Anti-capitalism movements have empirically been bad. That was our strand of evidence. It says they've always been racist and been co-opted, which means that our specific injection of a policy reform to help black people is necessary in the context of your affirmative alternative. Basically, civil rights means we win the round because we're not able to protest without them. Wait.
Thanks, Travis.
So, first of all, let me start off by apologizing. It's been a while since I flowed the hand, so you're gonna have to bear with me. But like I'm just not used to writing, I'm not sure writing a script anymore. So apologies for that. I end up voting neg in this round on the idea that the alt itself is net beneficial over the perm. I think the AF's big problem in this round in the 2AR is you didn't spend enough time on the Wayne analysis, I think, between like militarism and cap. The net gives me a really good Wayne analysis in the NR on why cap should outweigh, and along with analysis about how the links to the K are still DAs to the perm is persuasive. That combined with some of like the case takeouts and the possibility of a case turn means that like I feel much more comfortable voting for the alt rather than the perm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you think the alternative resolves capitalism? Like, could you explain the process to me?
Yeah, like it's a problem. Like these sorts of alternatives.
Like, you voted on something, so I want to know what it was.
Right. Like the argument that like the critique itself is a prerequisite to the plan, I think would
So that means no perm?
answer that. Like the perm argument wasn't super in depth. I think that could have been an argument you made, or you could have spent more time on arguing the solvency.
Okay, so let's go back to my original question. What does the alternative do to resolve capitalism, or to make the policy better?
I mean, like that's a good question to ask of like every K, but like you weren't spending enough time, I think, on the solvency or weighing the case against.
You don't think I spent a lot of time on questioning the alternative's ability to resolve capitalism?
Okay, but you weren't addressing the weighing of the K, right? Like you weren't answering his argument that like you drop the implications of the K, and so that means that even if there's a 1% chance of alt solving, then I vote neg. Like that, along with the fact that like there's no.
Where's the word 1% in the NR?
That was on. I think that was on.
Last time involved that is yet to be explained to me.
It was either at the end of case or on the K flow. My flow sort of blends.
Okay, and you think there's a 1% chance that the alternative solves?
I mean, like it
it.
hasn't been demonstrated like that. There's any like unique disadvantage to the alt, and like, and so yeah, I guess.
So, okay,